Hi there, I'm Raymond from ASC, and I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on how you can put your device into boot mode. If you are able to take your case off, which can be a bit tough, then you will be exposed to what is underneath the case. It can be a little difficult to take the case off. As you can see, it's an old board that's damaged. So if your case is on, you might not have this little circle here, depending on how old your case is. So you need to pry off the case, which can be very difficult, unfortunately. If you pry off your case and you break it, just message Raymond at asc.com and I will get you a new case. So if you need to take the case off, you can kind of start at a single corner and you're trying to push up at an angle to try to get a gap there. And then you need to pry along this front edge until you get a gap going. And then you can kind of pop it off like that. So this is what your board looks like. If you need to put it into boot mode because there's an error while you're trying to do the easy mode install, or there's for some reason your device is turning on and off over and over again, and it's just been acting super weird, putting it into boot mode and reloading the software is usually a good fix. So the essence of what we're trying to do is, while this device is plugged in, so pretend that the other end of this is plugged into something, we would be holding the boot button down, which is this button on this right-hand side with the 9, and we'd be just pressing and releasing the reset button. And then we would let go of the boot button. And that would put it into boot mode, and it would just sit there waiting for new firmware. Well, if you cannot take your case off, or you don't want to try to take your case off, and you happen to have this hole, some of the newer cases have this top hole is not on the cases. I added that so we could see what we're doing. So if we have our case on here, you can kind of see that button now just a little bit through this side. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to press that button ever so slightly by putting something. I've used a toothpick here. It's nice and it's not too hard. If you use something metal, you have a chance of possibly breaking the button off. So what we're trying to do here, we'll look at it from the top, is we're trying to put this in a little bit. And we're just trying to very gently press that button down, so that way the boot button is pressed. So it's very subtle. If you really crank over, you put something metal in and you really crank over, you will pop this button right off. In the future, I hope to not have to have sideways buttons. So in order to put it in the boot mode, what we are going to do is, because we don't have access to the reset button over on this side, we're going to need to plug it in on this end, and we're going to have the other end disconnected, so that's not connected to anything. Then we're going to press that button down, feel that button go. You can just barely see it moving there. And then, and this is why I mentioned in the written instructions that sometimes you might need a third hand, is you are going to, oh man, this is not easy. You're going to press that button down, you're going to hold it down, and then you're going to plug it into your computer on the other end. And while this button is held down and you plug it in, then it'll go into boot mode. Then you can release the button. And again, then you're in boot mode. You then should be able to either use an easy mode install or whatever other firmware you're trying to put on the device. Okay, that's it. So much for a short video. I hope that's helpful. Bye.